Greetings and salutations, my friends. Well, this is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Not only are we learning a bit about FM24, we're getting the future of Football Manager. I've read a bit of this, especially about the FM24 stuff. In this video, I'm going to sort of skim read it and go through the sort of important thoughts. I am going to be very critical of it, but I think I'm going to try and be fair. I think if you've watched any of my videos and heard me talk about Football Manager, you all know I'm not going to just be angry internet person because internet, but I'm also not going to be, Football Manager is the greatest game in the world because it's my job and everything like that. So I'm hopefully going to be sort of level criticism and talk about things. I don't have any privy inside information or anything. It's just going to be a chat about what I think they're talking about. Remember, this is a big company. As much as this is going to be interesting, a lot of it's going to be PR, very PR, cleverly curated PR sentences and stuff. And we're going to try and read through the lines a little bit, see if we can glean any information. So the first bit is just a little intro saying that they want to talk about it. And by the way, SI, if you're watching, more of these, please. Great. Be open. We love that. It's great. So FM23, they talk about the fact it's their most played game ever because obviously it came out on Game Pass and everything like this. Little homage to Stadia there. Do you remember Stadia? I used it as a doorstop. I bought a Stadia. I never opened it. It's a box. Might be a collector's item one day. So they were talking about the most played series in history. This is the first bit that interests me. Over the last few years, we've been embracing new platforms to improve the reach of our work, which hasn't always worked, Stadia, rest in peace. But with the success of our launches on Game Pass, on Xbox and PC, this year saw us bring back Football Manager Touch to Apple Arcade and all that sort of good stuff, both exceeding expectations. That always worries me a little bit from a purely selfish point of view as a PC gamer. If you're a PC gamer, you know that there are many games out there and you launch it and you're looking at the UI thinking, this was designed for console. So with the success, which is great, we want them to do really well because then they can spend more money making new games, always comes a hint of, well, okay, I'm hoping FM25, let's say, is not too made for console-y. Because it's a very hard game to make for console. That's why it's always struggled. But with different touch versions and stuff, hopefully that'll be a thing. That's just a question mark in my head. There's no premise for that. Hopefully it'll all be fine. I think they know where their main moneymaker is and they will stick to it. But that's fine. This, honestly, is great. You don't see this very often. However, we cannot ignore that some of our longer-serving players felt that FM23's progression had not lived up to the standards and expectations we have set over the years, and to be frank, we agree. Now, it's obviously a little bit of lip service, but it's very rare that companies will actually come out and actually say, hey, it's on us. Like, you've seen Redfall reviews and stuff like that, and they don't take any accountability. They go, no, it's a difficult launch or something like that, and it's tricky, and we're working on it, and we're going to patch it. It's genuinely nice to see a company come out and say, you know what, it's not our best work. This one's on us. And no, it doesn't mean we get a better game last year. It doesn't fix anything, but it's nice for them to freely admit that. And then they go on to talk about some of the reasons they tried new processes and stuff like this. I think because they increased the size of their team. Reading through the lines a little bit, there are lots of reasons there, but at the end of the day, head of the studio, there was someone who lies with me. Some of the criticism was constructive and fair, whereas some of it was both unfair and ill-informed. The only people who goes into making are those at the studio. Exactly. So, all of what I'm saying is complete conjecture. But, remember, let's just take a random number. I know it's more than this now, but let's say SI has 100 people. A new game engine and all that sort of stuff takes a number of years. So there is going to be, during the process, during the development of FM23, probably a small percentage, but a percentage of people that are working on the brand new FM25. So naturally, it's going to take away from the FM23. And I also think FM24. So I don't think FM24 is going to be amazing in any way, shape or form. I think we'll go into it, but I think it's going to be, here's some new fluffy stuff, but, wait until FM25. And I almost feel like in business talk, in marketing sense, if they know that FM24, and like I said, I've got no information, it might be the best game by miles. If FM24 comes out with a smaller feature set and everything, if they've preempted it by saying, yeah, but it's because we're FM25, whole new thing, it takes away a little bit of the criticism, right? And it's good for you because you can be more informed and go, well, okay, I might not get 24 then. I'll just wait until 25. I'm still playing my, FM18 save or whatever. So, yes, they made some mistakes, but also some of their resources have been diverted. Only natural. Every game studio that makes a repetitive game does that, right? But that's also got to be part of there as well. So FM24, the last 20 years realised and the last of its kind. So essentially what they're saying is, this is the last one before the big new reveal, which I haven't, I want you to see my reaction and thoughts as I see it, so I haven't read that part. You can expect a host of improvements, big and small, both new features and revamps to existing areas of the game. This is all thanks to ideas and feedback, blah, blah, blah. Says the vast majority of the team at Sponsor Interactive are working on FM24. Okay, so as I just said, so there's been a chunk of people that have been working on this FM25, this new engine, this new game. Was confirmed and fully designed earlier than previous releases, thanks to additional resources joining the studio. They've done a lot of hiring, they're expanding, which is really nice. So it means, crucially, this gives us more time to finesse the new features, fix known issues, and catch any ones that may crop up. That's good. It does sort of lend itself to the idea that there's not that many, if it's already kind of done, and now they can put much more testing into it, which is a good thing, that as I sort of suspect, FM24 is not going to blow anyone's minds. That sort of lends itself. This, however, is something I've never even considered, but it's amazing that those that do. The ability to transfer saved games from one version of FM to the other, which is amazing. Like that's fantastic, because me personally, I like to just start a new game when the new game comes out, but I know plenty of people that have 20, 40, 60-year saves, a whole lifetime at a club that is hard to do in a year. Being able to take that to the next one is massive. That in itself is a massive feature that's really good. Because what they've seen, remember, there's websites that track Steam stats, right? So they're not doing this through altruism. This is a business, obviously. So what they can look at is how many people are playing FM23. Great, they've got the numbers, loads. But also, you can go and look now, how many people are playing FM22, FM21, FM20, FM19. There is still a large proportion of people that are on those games. So if they can tap into that demographic and go, hey, I know you love that save. Obviously, you can't import an FM19 save. This is more going forward. But it's like, you love that save. You can just carry it on every year now. Why don't you just get it? It's brilliant for everybody. It makes sense for the company. Makes sense for players. It's great for those that do it. So this is the bit this is all fresh for me. So we'll go through in a bit more detail. FM25. The next chapter will be like nothing before. I think it's going to be purely talking about corners on stadiums and better trees in the background. 20 years for now. Some of them claim since the 3D match engine. Playtime, blah, blah. Oh, it's great. We are great. Game's great, etc., etc. Project Dragonfly. Miles, if you're watching, was that your name? Was that project name yours? A deep dive into our technology. The last revamp we had of the graphics engine running behind our match engine is 2017. Okay. Whilst what we did in 2017 was good for the 3D engine, some other things actually went backwards from a consumer-facing perspective. For example, we made the decision back then that the faces of new gens would appear on the player bodies in the graphics engine, but the technology we used for that stagnated and we've been a bit stuck. The rendering engine we choose to use didn't keep pace with the other engines, and nor did our internal. So obviously, the faces, regen faces and stuff has obviously been a sort of a bit of a meme. I appreciate that Miles tries his best with the creator manager and the player, and using it as but they're awful. They're awful. For me, I don't care. It's something I just really don't care about. I like having real life players' faces in the game that I import, but I don't care about regens looking a bit cartoonish. But I know lots of people do, and it's nice to see them actually admitting that. Whilst we've constantly been having discussions, back in 2020, a small group in the team, so emphasising, honestly guys, it's just a small group, which it is, but it's always good to point that out, to work on what we really push our technology forward. This became known as Project Dragonfly, a root and branch look at all technology we use in the studio. Alongside this, we also started looking at different business models, platforms, working practices, and games as a service. And it taught us how we might tie these things together. Okay, remember, I've not read on here. The games as a service scares me. Hopefully they're just using an example of things they've looked at. The original plan was to deep dive into the potential and then propel the learnings forward with the aim of a new look Football Manager for FM22. Due to the pandemic and impact on working practices on the studio, Project Dragonfly slowed down, mainly so we could deliver the games. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's not an excuse, that's real life. It had a dramatic effect. We started adding to the team to prepare on other releases. After we still weren't where we needed to hit with our FM23 deadlines, the stronger recommendation for those working on the project. Yep. So basically, it just essentially got pushed back. They had to focus on the game they were making rather than the game they could make in 2 or 3 years' time. Makes sense. So, FM25 console and FM25 Touch will be our first Football Manager release to use a new engine, Unity. Okay, I saw a job that they were advertising that was Unity. I didn't know what the engine they were using now. So that's all 3 games. Incredibly well known, yep, big engine. Unity powers, Unreal 5 would have been nice. Not really the engine for it. Unity powers many of the best known games in the world, yep. The switch to Unity is going to give us a lot more power graphically across all formats. Yep. We have been working closely with Unity over the last few years to be able to deliver a whole new UI which will dramatically improve the ways you are able to interact with the game. Asterisk goes back to my console being popular thing. Just putting it out there. It needs to work on both. So we might see changes that aren't the most PC friendly, because to find a happy medium with the console. But hopefully console, FM25 console and FM Touch will almost be different in that way, so that we still get the PC that's designed for mouse and keyboard and all that sort of stuff. But you never know. There's definitely an asterisk there for me. Unity's universal render pipeline allows us to create more optimal graphics across a range of platforms, from high-end for mobile to high-end consoles and PC Mac. But we're also adding some enhancements on top. The switch to Unity means there's possibility of better quality graphics across all sport devices. However, it should be expected that there will be some changes to the minimum spec requirements, which, yeah, that's fine. Like, the argument I've seen so many times about the graphics in FM, when somebody says, when Zealand points out that he really wants better graphics in FM, there'll be somebody going, yeah, but I only have a slow laptop, and I won't be able to run it. The minimum specs will be too high. It's like, graphical options are a thing. They've been a thing for many, 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 many moons. Moons. They've been around for years, right? This is not some revolutionary technology where you go, oh my God, wait, so if you've got a slower computer, you can turn down the graphics. So that's been a thing. You can't just live on the same thing and say, we want somebody with a Pentium 3 to be able to run this game. Tough. Really, I'm sorry. But you can't just make everything run on a Commodore 64, just in case that one guy still uses his Commodore 64. I'm looking at you, Steve. Which is fine. So this is good. But it's also good to point out that it will be a higher minimum specs. Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with gaming technologies, in simple terms, FM24 was significantly better looking. Yep. We also have new technology for new gens and manager creation. I like the manager creation because you've got good, and then you've got bad, but then you've got funny bad, and then funny bad is great because it's such a small part of the game. I don't mind funny bad, but I get it. The only platform that won't benefit from Switch Unity in time for FM25 is FM25 Mobile. Okay. That's fair enough. That's going to be a whole new thing, isn't it, to try and get that to work. A true reflection of real-life football with new animation tech. We're also taking a big jump with animations. I want pushing, I want shoving, I want grabbing, I want nutsack grab. Through new integrations with exciting partner from professional world of football, the first part of a multi-year shift will happen in FM24. So we get some of the benefits in our next instalment. That'd be good to see. Good. That gives us a feature for FM24. Excellent. Tick it off. With a particular focus on ball physics and player locomotion. This lays the foundations for the bulk of improvements to come along. And it allows them to test bits out, right? Doesn't it? If they're using FM24 as a little bit of that. Surrounding scenes will be introduced in FM25. Okay. Simply put, yeah, it's better. Welcome women's football. So I'm not privy to any information. I was 100% certain that the game engine, there would be a new game engine with women's football. I didn't think there was any point to making introducing women's football into the game on the current engine, when you know that at least in the next few years, you're going to have a brand new engine. And if you want women's football to be realistic, they run different, the game plays different. You can't just make women's long-haired people and go, they're women, look, see? Because it would just look like men's football. So I didn't think it was ever. So I was hoping that this would be for FM24, but this is clearly for FM25. That's great. I can't wait. It's going to be a whole new little thing. It's going to be great. As long as we can, it's alongside the normal game, so we can jump between men's and women's football. Excellent. Long waited. Yeah. I want to acknowledge, since we first we haven't provided any further. Yeah. The facts are that we've really made progress in many areas, including research, the match engine and translation. But there are other areas, legal issues. As always, the women's game deserves to be best input. Yeah, agreed. And if you're going to put in my comments, no, I don't want to manage women's football. Just fuck off. Just fuck off. It's not for you then, is it, you dickhead? Go and play your men's game. Go play with your man balls, okay? Lots of us would like to see this exciting. This is a good feature for us. So if you're one of those dickheads that likes to just rage on the internet behind an anonymous screen name, fuck off. It's great. Just like as if a feature came in that you weren't interested in. Let's say if they introduced a new training setup. I wouldn't care because I'm not really bothered about the training side of things. But I'm not going to rage on the internet about the fact that it exists because some people want to use it. Get over it. Okay. By this point, I'm sure most of you are asking the same question. When can we see what all this all looks like? Well, as mentioned earlier, we've had resource on FM25 some time now, not everyone, just a small minority, building towards a key milestone at the end of 2023. So this means we're aiming for the first major FM25 reveal in Q2 of 2024. Okay, so earlier than normal for the game. Until then, the updates from the studio will be informing you of all the FM24 and you'll be hearing more of everything. So I'm opening up. Yeah, okay. So, my thoughts summary. There's one line that makes me very interesting. It's the line about the looking at games as a service and all that sort of thing, which would be interesting. So the Game Pass stuff and all the mobile device stuff and console stuff has clearly turned their heads. That's to be expected. You've got such a massive audience that you can hit. How that will affect the main game, or if it's just going to affect touch and handheld and stuff like that, that remains to be seen. But it makes sense for them to hit as many markets as possible. That's fine. I think FM24 is going to be like FM23. I think it'll have some new features. But I think, without knowing about FM24, I think people are going to go, wow, this is a bit underwhelming. But that's part of the reason, definitely is, part of the reason why they're doing this is to get ahead of that and say, yeah, but you know that that's the case. You know there's a new game coming, it's a new engine. So, we'll be more accepting of that fact. And that's fine. That's fine, because you don't have to buy it, right? Remember this, guys. Remember this. I know it's crazy talk and stuff, but you can decide, actually, not enough progression. I won't buy this year. That's cool. I can just get data updates for previous years. I'll wait till FM25. You don't have to rage on the internet saying it's not worth it. You can just decide it's not worth it and then not buy it. I know it's revolutionary, but you don't have to just post a load of hate on social media. So I honestly think FM24 might be the best Football Manager version there's ever been. I think Football Manager is a great game. It's in a great spot. There's still flaws with it, and there's definitely stuff that needs to be updated, but it's still a great game. So I think the features will be not great. I think they'll do some things just to make sure that we've still got a new game. And I'm not saying Miles is lying. There is going to be a big chunk of the company that's working on FM24. I think it'll just be very similar to FM23. Here's a decent list of fixes, and here's a decent list of new features. Because there's things like set pieces, for instance. Let's take set pieces. One of the worst, oldest features in the game. It's so old, it's not useful, it's rubbish. There's so much you can't do with the set pieces. But then you think, okay, maybe that's just important to leave that to the new match engine. Like when you've rebuilt the entire game, essentially, is then not easier to do it? Maybe it's not possible or much harder to do in the current version. Things like the way corners of stadiums. Let's look, or backgrounds. You know how you look past your stadium, especially if you've got a smaller stadium and you might see fields or random huts or trees that are just like cardboard cutouts of trees. And it's awful. It's been awful for years. But why would they update that knowing that there's a whole new engine in a year and a half's time? It makes sense now. It makes a lot of these things that aren't updated, which common sense dictates you probably should update, makes sense right now. You go, okay, that feels free. Overall, I'm very excited. I knew it was coming. I think we all knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be women's football. It makes sense. Why do this whole thing in animations and all this sort of stuff for an old engine that you're just about to replace anyway? It made no sense. So I think FM24 will be a fun Football Manager game with a few nice little features. The ability to transfer save games is really, really good for a bunch of people. So that's great. That feature alone is decent. I'm interested to see, because they talked about looking at other game studios. Here we go. Alongside, we started looking at different business models, platforms, working practices, all normal, and games as a service, and how we might tie these things together. So games as a service, if you don't know, essentially is like, to be a very cynical point of view, is here's half a game, but we'll sell you a battle pass and give you updates and make really expensive shop items and microtransactions and slowly trickle out updates to keep you playing long term. It's a really good way of releasing an unfinished game, essentially, and I'm not suggesting FM's going to do that in the slightest. But I wonder if that means that they're thinking of ways of changing this yearly release schedule. I honestly don't think so. I would genuinely like to see... I would be happy with a yearly release and then do some weird and wonderful little mini DLCs. Do a 1998-99 database. Get some of the amazing editors that are out there that exist already, pay them, hire them to make these databases and make it a little £5 DLC. Something just totally aside, make a DLC where you can change all sorts of database stuff. You can do all sorts. And you've got so many amazing people that currently do it for free or very little money making these databases. Get them involved, hire them. It's happened across multiple genres of games where mod teams have been hired by the developer to make a professional mod because they're so good at it. So do that, hire these people, and if you are hired, I'd like 5% for this idea, so you're welcome. But yeah, so I'm very interested to see. I think FM24, like I said, is going to be fine. FM25 is going to be exciting and new. There is an asterisk. Along with a brand new engine, does come brand new problems. So, the first year of FM25 might be a little bit ropey. It might not feel like the free-flowing football. There might be some things that are a bit janky and stuff like that. That's kind of to be expected with a brand new engine. But overall, very excited. To Miles and the team, good luck with it. I'm excited to see what you do. I really appreciate the fact you're talking about it and being open. And I really appreciate that you kind of went, yeah, you know, we didn't do good enough. We agree that it didn't live up, which is always nice to hear, whether it's just lip service or not, doesn't matter. The fact that you are open to even saying that as a big company is very rare, and you should keep doing that when you make a fuck up or when something's not good enough. Brilliant. Right, there we go, my friends. I hope that's a pretty balanced view. I'm happily skeptical about the whole idea. If you enjoy Football Manager content, I will be covering FM24 and FM25 as we learn more information about it. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Unless you're going to be a dick about women's football, then you can fuck off and unsubscribe and go away and never come back again. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.